Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Dee Dee Baldwin. I'm the History Research Librarian at Mississippi State. And what we're going to be talking about today is Zotero, which is a free citation management piece of software. And I'll start off just telling you a little bit about the program, kind of an overview of what it is. And then we will move to the browser so I can show you how to save things into your Zotero library. Then we'll move into the Zotero app itself, and I'll show you how to kind of navigate the app and the features that you will most likely be using. And then finally, we will open up Microsoft Word, and I'll show you how to use Zotero to create your citations and your bibliography. This workshop usually goes fairly fast because Zotero is extremely easy, which is good news for y'all. So let's jump right in. So first of all, what is Zotero? As I said, it's a citation management tool. And what that means is it does two things. It helps you save your references from databases and from websites and even social media. And it's also a tool for organizing your references. You can create folders for different projects and different types of sources, however you want to divide that up. And then the second part of what it does is that it cites your sources for you and it creates your bibliography. Zotero is free as long as you don't have over 300 megs of material in your library. And for most people, for most projects, this isn't a problem at all. If you're working on a whole bunch of projects and you have tons of articles for each one, you might kind of get close to that space limit. If you do, Zotero does have options to pay for more storage, and they're pretty reasonable. It's not a lot. It's like an annual fee for 1 gig or 2 gigs, something like that. And they also have storage options that are even more if you happen to need that. You're going to want to create a login on the website, which is Zotero.org, and we'll be looking at that in just a minute. If you plan to use Zotero, you do want to make a login. This allows you to sync your library between your different devices. So if you're using a laptop in class, or you have a desktop at home, or you're on a tablet, it just keeps everything that you have synced up. And you can also use Zotero to create shared libraries. So if you're in a group or you're working on a project team, everybody in your group can see all the sources and access those articles that the whole group is using. So how do you get Zotero? We will go and look at the website in just a second. Be sure to note that Zotero is a two-part download. The main part is the actual program. This is where it stores your files, and this is what connects to Microsoft Word to cite your sources and create your bibliography for you. And then the second part of the download is a browser extension. It works on Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. Last time I checked, it did not work on Microsoft Edge, but I don't think a lot of people use that anyway. So it should work on the browser that you're using. And the browser extension is what allows you to save things to your library. So if you're looking at an article in a database, the browser extension is what you use to save that article into your Zotero library. So I'm going to close out of PowerPoint now. If you give me just a second. And we are going to switch over to my browser. WebEx makes you switch between applications. A little bit clunky. This might take a second to pop up for y'all, but in a second you should be looking at my browser window, and I'm on the website for Zotero.org. You can see that right there on their main page they have that red download button. That's where you're going to want to go. It doesn't matter what order you do this in, but you can also go to the login link up at the top. That's where you go to register. You would click login, and then it'll have an option to register for a free account. And like I said, if you plan to use Zotero, you need to go ahead and create an account. Okay, so when you're on Zotero.org, you're going to click the red download button. And it's going to take you to a page where it shows you the two-part download. It should automatically sense what operating system you're running, and it should also automatically sense what browser you're on. If it messes up for some reason, you can also switch it over manually. You can see where it says Zotero connectors for other browsers, and then for your operating system, you can switch it if it makes some kind of mistake detecting what system you're on. But it should be able to detect what you're using. So do make sure you do both parts of that download. If you run into problems in Zotero, whether it's installation, getting it to work right on Microsoft Word, or any other issues, you're going to want to come up here to, you can see their menu at the top. You're going to want to go to their forums. Their forums are very active. You'll be able to see in just a second, like they're updated. They have a ton of updates just today. So any kind of problem you're having, this is the best place to go to ask how to fix it. They're really good about responding and, being nice and all that kind of stuff. So they'll help you fix your problems. The most common things that I've run into when I teach this workshop in person is sometimes people who are using Macs. Sometimes they have problems getting Zotero to install on Microsoft Word on a Mac. But if you get on Google and just search something like Mac Zotero Word, one of the top results will be how to fix that. There's like a couple of extra steps you have to do. So just be aware, if you are installing this on a Mac, you might have to do a couple extra steps to get it to work in Microsoft Word. Another thing to be aware of is if you have ever installed EndNote on your computer, EndNote and Zotero don't play well together in Microsoft Word. And so there's some extra steps you have to do in Word to fully delete EndNote from the plugins on Word. There's all kinds of rigmarole you have to do for that. But usually Zotero should install without any problems. It installs pretty fast. But, if you do run into problems, the forums are where you want to go to ask how to fix it. You can also just Google your problem. A lot of times I've found that to be very helpful. So that's the website part of it. Now I'm going to go over to the library's website just to do a demonstration of how the browser extension works and how to save things into your library. I have the Zotero app open and running while I do this. I've found that it works better if the app is running when you're trying to save things to it. You might have a different experience from that, but just be aware that I do have the app running. The Zotero icon that appears in your browser, this is where it appears in Chrome. I know other browsers have different layouts, but wherever your plugins appear, this is where it'll be. So it looks like a piece of paper right now, or like a file, and this would save this website into my Zotero. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you save articles from databases. So I'm going to click on our databases button here. And I'm just going to go to Academic Search Complete, the first one in the list. If you have any questions so far, feel free to let me know. You can unmute your mic and ask that way, or you can ask it in the chat, whichever way you feel most comfortable. Don't worry about interrupting. That's just how you have to kind of do on WebEx. If you have a question, don't feel shy about unmuting that mic if you need to. But like I said, if you feel better asking it in the chat, you can do that as well, because I'm looking at the chat following along. Okay, so I'm just going to do a search. Let's just do a search for coronavirus. So in a second, well, it's already switched. Up in this right-hand corner, my Zotero icon has changed from what looked like a piece of paper to now it looks like a folder. The reason it changed to a folder is because we're looking at multiple items in these database results. So Zotero does give you the option, if you click this folder, it gives you the option to save all of the articles on this page at one time. So if you're kind of in a hurry and you just want to save everything all at once and then pick through it later, narrow things down, you can click select all and save all of these articles. I'm going to click OK. And then it'll have a little window up here that shows that it's saving those items to Zotero. When you save things to Zotero, I like to go into the program and make sure that the items did actually transfer over there. Every now and then it does like a weird glitch where it says it saved it, but it didn't. So I always just open the app real quick just to check. So now all of these articles are saved into my Zotero library. If you're looking at just one article, let's go over to page 2 of these search results. And let's just say it's going slow. Let's just say you also want this article. If you click on an individual article, the Zotero icon will change back to that, what looks like a little piece of paper. I'm going to click it, and then it's going to tell me that it's saved to Zotero. So you can also do this with web pages. So let's just say I'm Googling coronavirus. And let's just say I want this article from the World Health Organization. I can also save the text from this website into my Zotero library. So again, I'm going to click the Zotero icon, and it's going to save this web page. Does anybody have a question so far about how to use the browser extension? It's basically just clicking it, and it sends the stuff to your Zotero library. Now this is telling me it had an error. I don't know why. We'll try it again. Okay, it worked that time. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, I'm going to switch over now to the Zotero app. If you think of a question from this part of the workshop, feel free to ask it. It's not like you lose your chance or anything. So let me switch over now to the Zotero app. Just one moment. Please ignore my kitten meowing. Okay. So once you've saved items into your Zotero app, this is what it looks like. So one thing you're going to notice is over here on the side, these blue dots. The blue dots are showing you which articles you have the full text of. Articles that don't have those blue dots are ones that our library might not have the full text, so you might have to do an interlibrary loan, or you might have to do the Find It button to get the full text that way. But articles that have that blue dot, it means that you do have the full text for it. And if you right-click one of those, you can see that it gives you a little pop-up here, and it has the option to view the PDF. So when you save an article to your Zotero, it doesn't just save the bibliographical information, it also saves the article itself. And this is what can kind of take up space. Be quiet, little kitten. Sorry, y'all. I'm fostering this kitten, and she's very loud. So if you do have a lot of articles with the PDFs, you might have to clear those out fairly often to if you get close to that space limit, because that is what takes up the space. But like I said, unless you just have a ton of articles, you shouldn't have to worry about that. So let's look at the bibliographic information on the right side. This is the information that it's going to use to cite the article for you. There might sometimes be things that you have to change, and I'm going to show you a good example of that here. I'm going to click on this title here. So you will notice that part of the title is in all caps. Sometimes when you download articles from databases, sometimes they have the author's name in all caps, sometimes they have the title in all caps or part of the title in all caps. This is just a quirk that some databases do, and that is something that you have to fix manually, because if you cite this article when Zotero creates your bibliography, it can't change the case of letters, so it can't change from uppercase to lowercase and all that kind of stuff. That's something you have to do manually. So you can either fix it once you get to Word, or you can fix it here. Either way, however you prefer to do that. I recommend going ahead and fixing it in Zotero just so you don't forget to fix it later. So I'm just going to change how that's written. So you can edit any one of these fields as needed just by clicking on it if you find other things that you need to fix. There's also tabs on here where you can add notes. You can also tag articles. You can see that when you download an article from a database, it transfers over with some subject tags that are already done for you. You can also add your own. So however you want to organize your information is entirely up to you. Okay, so when you're coming into Zotero for the first time, you do want to go ahead and sync up your library with your other devices. So you would come up here to Edit, Preferences, and under Edit Preferences, you're going to see that button to sync, and that's where you go to log into your Zotero account, and that's how you sync up your account. You can also change some of these other settings as you want to, that's all up to you. If you are setting up a group library, that's going to be, let's see, New Collection. You click on this little orange folder up at the top for New Library, and you're going to go to New Group. And when you do that, it's going to ask you to enter the email addresses of the other people in your group, and then they will have to go and accept being added to that group. But that's how you do it if that's something that you're going to be needing. So let's say you want to organize your library, you're working on more than one paper, or you just want folders for different types of things, like maybe you want a folder for peer-reviewed articles and another folder for articles that are not peer-reviewed, that kind of thing. You can come up to My Library and right-click, or you can also just click this little folder icon right here. They both do the same thing. So you can say My Library, New Collection, and you can name it whatever you want. So I'll just put Paper 1. You could name it for your class, whatever you want to name it. And then you can go to your library, and whichever articles you want to drag in, you can select them and then drag them over to the folder. You can also create subfolders. So if for Paper 1, I'm going to right-click that and say New Subcollection, and then I'm going to say just peer-reviewed. Let's just say that's how I'm organizing my sources. So you can make folders, subfolders, sub-subfolders. You can organize this stuff however you want. Go crazy. Those are the main things that you need to know about the Zotero app. There are other things you can look at, just explore the app. It's very user-friendly. It's very intuitive. But those are the main features that you will be using, is creating folders, editing the metadata, and then also right-clicking articles that have blue dots. You can see that since we were last on this screen, more blue dots have appeared, and that's because Zotero was still in the process of downloading these articles that I had saved. So they don't download instantly. It depends on how fast your internet is. But eventually, all the ones you save will appear here. Does anybody have a question so far? You can ask it in chat or unmute your mic. Everybody good so far? Okay. So now I'm going to switch over to Microsoft Word. Give me just a moment. Okay, it might take a second or two, but you should be seeing my Microsoft Word screen. Okay, we have a question in chat for the app. Is the same format you showed on the phone as well? I'm not really sure what you mean. I don't have Zotero on my phone, but I assume it's very similar. I have used it on a tablet and the layout is the same, so I would assume that it's pretty much the same, just smaller on a phone. Is that what you were referring to? Okay. So now y'all should be seeing my Microsoft Word program. And since I have Zotero installed, you can look up at the menu at the top and you can see that I have a Zotero option in my menu. When you first install the program and first try to open Microsoft Word and use it, make sure you do have that Zotero up in your menu. If it's not there, that means it didn't install right, and there might be an extra step or two that you have to do. Sometimes you have to reinstall it. You have to go into Zotero. Like I said, if you Google that, if you just Google Zotero Microsoft Word, it'll be like the first result. It'll give you those extra 1 or 2 steps you need to do to make sure it installs. If you have a bigger problem than that, like I said, you can go to their forums and they'll help you out. But for the vast majority of people, when you install Zotero, it will install into Microsoft Word, and the next time you open it, you should have Zotero in your menu. Okay, so let's just say I'm writing my paper and I want to put in a citation. I'm going to click Zotero up at the top, and you can see it's a really small, easy menu. Everything about Zotero is very easy. I'm going to click Add Edit Citation, and let me share this little pop-up so y'all can see it. Y'all should be seeing the little window that popped up when I clicked Add Edit Citation. The first time you click it, it's going to ask you to choose what citation style you're using. So I'm just going to say I'm using APA for this. If it's not showing the style that you want to use, you can click on Manage Styles and it takes you to a website where you can download more. There are hundreds because they have styles that particular journals use. You know how some journals have their own particular citation style. You can download those. So if you're writing an article for a specific journal, you might want to do that. But the most common ones are already in this list. So I'm going to click OK. And then a little red box is going to pop up. Can somebody tell me in chat if you can see that little red box? Because one time I taught this workshop and it wasn't showing. Okay, good. So when you get this little red pop-up box, you start typing the author or the title of whatever source you're citing. I'm just going to start typing coronavirus. And let's just say I'm citing this one. And then it'll show you your citation. You can edit it as needed. For example, if you're doing a citation style that requires page numbers, Zotero obviously can't do that part for you because it can't see what you're looking at in the book. So that is something you would have to do manually. So let's just say this is a style where you need a page number. You could put page whatever. So you can add that yourself. And I don't know if APA uses page numbers. I'm just putting that in there as an example. So I'm going to hit enter, and then it inserts the citation into my paper. So I'm going to add a few more so we can look at the bibliography. Okay, so I've added 3 citations. Let's say I'm ready to do my bibliography. When you're ready to do that, you can come over here and it has a button, just add edit bibliography. And you just click that and Zotero, like magic, creates your bibliography for you. You can see that it automatically alphabetizes by author's last names. It doesn't matter what order they're in your paper. It automatically alphabetizes for you. And if you're still working on your paper, it will automatically update your bibliography as you go. Be quiet, little kitten. So let's just say I'm inserting this one. And as soon as I add this citation, it's going to update my bibliography. So if you want to, at the very beginning, when you first start writing a paper, you can go ahead and add the bibliography, and Zotero will update it as you go and as you insert sources. So you can do it as you go, or you can add it at the end, however you want to do that. Again, make sure that you look over this, because it's very important to remember that Zotero cannot change upper and lowercase. So if you're doing a citation style that does capitalization differently, for example, APA, you don't capitalize every word in a title. So this one is done right, but this one you would have to fix on your own. You would have to come in and edit this part on your own. You would have to change these uppercase letters yourself. So do be aware of the citation style you're using and what they require for upper and lowercase, that kind of thing. Make sure, you always have to check and make sure that it's done right. But the thing with the capital letters is the most important thing and the most common thing that you're going to have to fix. But other than that, it should do everything right for you. But I do always want to make sure to point out that thing about the capital letters. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we've covered from the website, the program, using it in Microsoft Word? One more thing is that if you are changing a citation style, you can come up to this link here that says Document Preferences. And if you decide you want to switch to another citation style, like let's just say you're going to do, let's just do American Medical Association, and just click OK, and it will automatically change your citations and your bibliography into that style. If you do that switch too many times, it starts getting messed up just because it gets confused switching between the styles. But if you're only doing it once or twice, you shouldn't have any problems switching back and forth between styles. So that is the end of the workshop, unless anybody has any questions. There is a quick survey to evaluate the session if you want to. It's not required, but these are helpful for us to have these evaluations for future workshops. So the link is pasted in the chat if anybody wants to fill that out. And if nobody has any questions, that'll be it.